Well, I'm joined now by the spokesperson for the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Nonala Ndlovu. Ms. Ndlovu, thank you so much for joining us. Are you able to tell us how extensive the damage from this Inanda tornado is?
At this stage, we are not able to give exact figures. The management teams are on the ground. The assessment is. We are hoping that as the evening progresses, we'll have more definite answers back into the morning where more active assessments will have been conducted. We are at this point just, we do know that the teams are on the ground and they are checking if there are people who are missing. At this point, we haven't received any reports of any individuals that are missing. We did receive reports of the two individuals who suffered minor injuries, but we are waiting for more reports as the teams are continuing to go through the area.
Fair enough. I mean, I think this only happened sort of in the middle of the afternoon or so.
Yes.
Is it possible to give us a rough idea of whether it's extensive damage or minor damage?
Well, there is quite substantial damage to some of the houses. At this stage, obviously, I can't say how many houses have been damaged, but there is damage to even the electrical infrastructure. We saw some cabling, and the side rails on the roads. They were uprooted. So there is quite substantial damage, although we can't say now that so many households have been affected or so many roads have been affected. At the moment, it's just driving through the area and seeing that there is quite substantial damage that has happened in the area. Until such time that the assessments are done and we've got correct figures, then we can start talking figures.
Yeah, fair enough. Is it safe to say that emergency services and the authorities are going to be working through the night on this?
Pardon?
Is it safe to say that authorities are probably going to be working on this through the night?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, because there are people who have been left stranded. So there has to be emergency relief that's being given. Even as we speak, some of our principals are preparing to go on the ground.
Thanks for that. And I understand, of course, that it is early days. Your department did send out a warning, and I'm not sure if this is before or after the tornado. I think it probably was before. There was no direct mention of the tornado, but you were warning communities of heavy rain, potential flooding in the south, along the south coast. Of course, Inanda is north in Durban, but just talk to us about your concerns as a department and the warnings that you have in place and in which areas, because from reading this, the threat is not over. There could indeed be fairly extensive flood damage in days to come. Am I right?
Well, we get our warnings from the warnings that we also received from the South African Weather Service. So that warning that we issued was because we were observing that the rain was getting quite substantial. And at that point, we were looking at areas in the south because that's where we were receiving reports that there's been substantial rainfall. And then the South African Weather Service upgraded the warning from a level 2 to a level 6. And that's when we issued that statement warning citizens. The tornado, I must say, did catch us off guard. We weren't aware of something like that. We were just watching the rains, and obviously there was wind accompanying the rain because we are in the winter season. But the tornado really it did catch us a little bit off guard. But there are still rains that are continuing. We are waiting on the South African Weather Service to give us a forecast in terms of what's going to happen going forward. Because for now, the warning that we had was that by tomorrow morning, the rain would subside, and so will the winds. So we don't know if they have really upgraded that warning once again as the evening has progressed. But we are keeping our ears on the ground, and we are in constant communication with the South African Weather Service.
As it stands, the Ugu municipality is the one area that you did flag. How are things there at the moment?
We haven't received reports of substantial damage to any property on that side, because at the point that we issued the statement, there was just lots of water because there had been substantial rainfall, but we hadn't received any reports of structural damages. But I'm suspecting that they're also still on the ground just assessing, but we haven't received any reports of any injuries or fatalities or anything like that at the moment.
And I note in your release, you say that the department's activated all disaster management services in affected areas and teams are on the ready. I would imagine, Nonala, after the April floods of last year, that whenever there's any kind of warning level of heavy rains, you must all be so concerned that more devastation could come down, particularly on the eThekwini area.
That's very true. Even myself, as I could hear the rain last night, I became very anxious because any amount of rainfall brings about anxiety for us now, because it can turn very ugly very quickly. So each time that there is rainfall, we activate the teams. As I speak now, there was a provincial job meeting held earlier in the day around 3 o'clock, where we were talking to all the disaster and asking them to all be on high alert, because we weren't quite expecting such rains, and we're saying that all hands must be on deck and people must be ready to respond so that we don't ever suffer the devastation that we suffered last year.
Yeah. So am I correct that your focus at the moment is in Inanda, where assessments after this tornado continue? Damage looks fairly extensive, but it's hard to say exactly. And you're keeping an eye on areas that have been flagged by the Weather Service where rain continues currently. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you so much for bringing us that update. We really appreciate it, and good luck with all the assessments. That's Nonala Ndlovu. She's the head of communications for KwaZulu-Natal's COGTA, that's Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department. Of course, they coordinate all levels of government whenever there's a disaster like this, because it's very much all hands on deck. So focus at the moment on that tornado that happened in Inanda this afternoon, and they're hoping the rains abate by tomorrow in other areas, but they're certainly all on high alert.